on the field. But Billy, let's get to your recap here of this ball game, as this was one of those ball games where we didn't expect Southeast Polk. It's Southeast Polk's first game. You gotta write a lot of the game into that, but really, Dowling, that was a much improved team. Not to say they didn't play well last week, but a much improved team than last week.
Yeah, and you saw the benefit that it can have playing a game before a big opponent like Southeast Polk. I think Dowling had a few jitters last week. They were still cleaning some things up with the offense. And one game, a chance to look at film, and they came out a brand new team and really controlled this thing from the start. And that's really what Dowling Catholic wanted to do. Matthew
Hawk, huge game, over 200 yards receiving, I'm sure. One of those contests where he's going to be a big part of the offense, but you also know Boyle is always that factor that you just don't know where he's going to go. Pete wants to be a part of the broadcast. There's
excited.
A huge crew there.
Yeah, and Ryan Boyle controlled the game well, made all the right plays, and I think the game plan going into it was perfect. Get Ryan Boyle some short, quick throws, let some of his receivers make plays in space. And you saw that from the get-go. Boyle was calm, he was composed, and what a runner. I mean, you can't talk enough about how hard he can run as a quarterback. He's not a huge kid, but a very physical kid, and you love to see that out of a high school quarterback.
And he's only a sophomore. I really didn't even get a chance to talk with the Register reporter about it, but Tommy Birch, we were talking after the game last week at Johnston, and he's looked for a story in the Des Moines Register coming up. Boyle's one of those guys. Dowling's not used to having a freshman play varsity really that much. He played as a quarterback last year. It was more than that. 5 for 5 passing was much more than what he really was. But the thing about it is, Boyle is somebody who's starting as a sophomore, and that's not been done since around the 1960s.
No, and he's had a ton of hype ever since he was in 7th grade. People have been preparing for Ryan Boyle to come to Dowling, and he is not disappointed so far. Craig McLean, the quarterback's coach, spent a lot of time with him, and when I talked to Craig about him, he says he's still got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of things he still needs to clean up. The ability is there, the drive is there, the work ethic is there, and again, you just can't teach a quarterback to lower his shoulder and run somebody over, and that's what people are excited about.
And that's what's fun to watch him. Other players that were big for you tonight, Billy?
I think Palmy had a huge game. Sherinian on defense, huge game. Gelati, tough task for the defense, even the entire defensive secondary for Dowling with Gelati, even Palmy and Sherinian getting involved in the passing game. That's a tough play when you've got a Division I quarterback throwing the ball over the field. You really need those players to step up. So I was really impressed with that.
And you're always watching the defense. The freshmen, you got Valley next week. Which night?
We got them Thursday night, 4:30 at Dowling Catholic. It should be it's the game of the year for us, and we're really excited about it. We've got some film review to do on this weekend and practice on Monday.
Looking down at the field now to see, it looks like the local stations, Matthew Hawk and Boyle, those guys are going to get a lot of attention this year, and Dave Marcoulier always likes to talk about the line play. You mentioned the loss there, and it's going to be huge if that line all of a sudden you have to start playing patchwork in week 3.
Yeah, and even through camp, all the line coaches were huge on Curvin. Curvin was the rock. He was the right tackle. He was the Haas player. And when he went down, I think everybody kind of had that quick kind of jolt of, I hope he's okay. And so, obviously, if he can't go, that's going to affect Dowling Catholic's game plan next week. They're not going to be able to run the ball efficiently. They're going to have to run some more play action, keep the defense off balance. But I think with Dowling Catholic and as well coached as they are, Andy Pollock, the offensive line coach, Jim Williams, obviously a legend, they will find somebody who can play that spot and fill those shoes.
And, the thing with Valley and Dowling playing last 2 years, it's been week 0, so it's kind of that you're focused in camp. But now you got 2 weeks to study film. That's kind of the way it was about 4 and 3 years ago. So all of a sudden, this is almost like a playoff experience, and I need to quickly wrap up that thought. Billy Battistone, thank you so very much for joining us on this broadcast. We'll see you. I'll see you in the press box. Won't see you on the air next week, but we'll see you soon. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
All right, that's Billy Battistone. We're going to go down to the field here in just a moment because we're going to join the KWKY radio crew and Mark Amadeo and Dave Marcoulier. We'll have Brian Morris with a player. Looks like he has... Yeah, that's Michael Palmy. That's a very good pick by those guys, and we're going to be close to having him. Dowling Catholic wins tonight by a score of 35-12. Great performance tonight. I think that's going to do it for this this broadcast tonight. If you want to hear a little bit more of the post game, I invite you to switch over to KWKY if you're in the Des Moines area, or KWKY.com. We'll be on the air next week. If you want to watch the Valley Dowling game, you'll have to go to valleywebcasting.com. I'll be on the call on that one. A couple of scores here. Valley 45, Waukee 14, Roosevelt 21, Hoover 18. Johnston defeats Lincoln tonight 38-15, and Prairie City Monroe and Knoxville, the two former Dowling Catholic assistants. It's Knoxville 21, Prairie City Monroe 14. That's a look at some of your scores, and we'll be on the air next week here at Valley Stadium on valleywebcasting.com. But the next broadcast that we have here on Dowling webcasting.com will be September the 7th when the Ankeny Hawks come to town. That is a ball game that should be an exciting one and always is a good one. We'll be back on the air. Keep an eye on dowlingwebcasting.com. For Billy Battistone, my name is Paul Yeager. Thank you so very much for watching. Good night from Valley Stadium, where again your final score, it's Dowling Catholic with the win, improving to 2-0 with a 35-12 win over Southeast Polk. Good night from Valley Stadium.